My love of the TV series Smallville is well documented, and there's one rewatch podcast that's always at the top of my queue. Zach Moore's Always Hold On to Smallville, which continues with more great Smallville and Superman talk now that their series rewatch has concluded. Listen wherever you get podcasts. Ever wonder what would happen if a person who knew barely anything about comics decided to absorb hundreds of Superman stories? Robbo is that kind of person, and that's exactly what he's doing on a new show called This Podcast Will Never Die. Listen and subscribe today. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 5, Episode 10, The Prince Albert Coat, is the host of the podcast Truth, Justice, and the Way, Superman and Spirituality, returning guest, Rick Lee James. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back again. Thanks for having me.
Your second one of the season. I mean, now you're just becoming a veteran of this.
I know. Yeah. And I don't even know what that means. Are there any actual veterans of season 5? I'm sure there are some who are devoted fans, but it's fun for me to be back and talking about it again in all of its glory, or what could be glory, or whatever it is that we're calling it exactly.
Yeah. I'm recording all of these before they start releasing. So I don't know as of now, but I'm curious once these are out there and I start hearing from people as they hear our discussions, if there will be any defenders of season 5 who rise to speak up for this season. I don't know. I'm curious. I genuinely hope so. I mean, truly, even especially, and I say this all the time, but when there's an episode I don't particularly care for, it's not like I don't want anyone else to enjoy it. Like, nothing would make me happier than if someone's like, oh, the Prince Albert Coat, like, oh, it's a classic. Great. Like, I would love to hear that. So if you're out there, like, please let us know. So in this one, a young boy mistakenly donates a coat containing his great-grandfather's fortune. This aired on May 10th, 1957, written by Leroy Zerin, directed by Harry Gerstad. And our guest cast here, Stephen Wooten as Bobby, Raymond Hatton as Great Gramps, Phil Arnold as Cue Ball, Daniel White as Mike, Claire Dubray as Mrs. Craig, Frank Fenton as Mortimer Vanderlip, Ken Christie as Mr. McCoy, and Jack Finch as Thomas Summerfield. All right, overall thoughts on this one?
It was a episode. I don't have a lot to say. What honestly came to my mind, the two robbers in it, they reminded me of the robbers on Home Alone a little bit.
Okay.
Like the outfits they were wearing, and that was the thing that stands out to me the most about this episode.
I literally typed that in my notes. I put in parentheses, Home Alone robbers. They 100% have that Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern vibe from those films. 100% in terms of physicality and just the banter and the dynamic between them. 1,000% I agree.
I literally thought, can it be that the director of that movie, or the writer of Home Alone, was such a fan of the Prince Albert Coat that maybe he is the one that was so influenced by this particular episode that then we now have Home Alone.
Yeah, maybe.
I like that backstory. I hope it's true.
This was easily one of my least favorite episodes of the season and the series. And look, I'm more than happy to have a heartwarming story involving a kid and Superman's interaction with the kid. We've had good examples of that. Mm-hmm. I don't think this is one of them. I will say, in fairness, at least they cast an actual kid in this episode, because we've had instances where it's like the kid who hated Superman. I was like, this kid's like 30. I mean, yeah. So, we've had instances like this where I'm like, come on the casting front. I know it's hard with kids, but if it's if the plot of the episode like hinges on it really being a kid, it's got to be a kid. Otherwise, this thing falls apart. So
Yeah.
there's an actual kid, which is good. But otherwise, I found this so dull. And my God, if you didn't see the opening sequence, you might think you were watching the wrong show. I mean, it
Yeah.
feels like it's an eternity before we get to the Daily Planet. And even then, we don't get Clark until a little bit later. But even just to get to the Daily Planet, I didn't time it. But I mean, it's probably less than I think it is, but it was a long time.
It did seem like quite a while. I may or may not have dozed off and had to rewind it to watch a little bit at that point. It was interesting and not the not a powerhouse of acting in my opinion.
No. All right, we'll get into this here. So young Bobby sees a PSA on television asking for clothing donations for flood victims and asks his distracted great-grandfather if he can gather items. By the way, I guess he had to be the great-grandfather because when we get to the big twist at the end of this, and we can spoil it, it's okay, that the money in the lining of this coat is Confederate money. It's like, I guess he had to be of a certain age, but it's like,
Right.
it's one thing, it's not his dad, grandfather, great-grandpa. I mean, we're really...
Yeah.
It's good for this guy. He's lived so long, I guess. But anyway, he asks Great Gramps if he can gather items to donate. While assembling the clothes, Bobby opens an old trunk and pulls out a long coat to add to the pile. Two relief agency drivers pull up to the house and scheme about taking what they can for themselves before they pick up the donation from Bobby. Later, Great Gramps is horrified when Bobby explains he donated the old coat. They go down to the relief agency to try to get it back, to no avail, before Great Gramps finally reveals he had hidden $10,000 in the lining. What do you want to say about this opening sequence here?
One thing that I noted, and I can't exactly remember what it was, when the boy was hearing about the clothing that was desperately needed, there was this so tender music that was playing in the background on the show, and I don't remember hearing it before. Maybe they did. But yeah, I remember thinking like, wow, this is the saddest music in the world. These people really need these clothes. Um, and it was funny to me that these clothes, which generally when people are donating clothes, they're not giving like the best thing that they have. They probably maybe we should more. Maybe we should do that for people that don't have. It would probably be a nice gesture. Most of us have more clothes than we need. But I never have thought I'm gonna wait outside of Goodwill and rob whoever brings all their junk in. This is gonna be my way to to get rich in the world. So the Home Alone thieves, their plan doesn't seem like it's like gonna really bring a lot of wealth to them.
I will co-sign on that. I had a similar thought as I was watching him. Like, this is a wild scheme, guys. Like, and the thing too is that, because I don't know, I think the first time I watched this, it wasn't clear to me at first, but watching it again, it seems like they legitimately, I mean, they are jailbirds. We find that out later by way of Henderson, but it's like, it seems like they've legitimately obtained positions with the relief agency. It's not like they didn't decorate a car to look like the pickup car or steal it. It's like they're in the system, it seems.
Yeah.
So they have these jobs, but yes, they see this as an opportunity to skim what they can. But yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. It's like of all the relief efforts to try to scam from, it's like, yeah, people donating, like you said, generally old clothing. I mean, we'll see a little bit later, I guess they go through all the pockets and whatever loose change or discarded bills they can find. I think they've made like $18 or something like that when they're counting their haul. And it's just like, I know that was more then, but it's like, is that worth this effort and the risk? I don't know. It's, yeah. But that's their gimmick.
They weren't the most imaginative criminals. Batman used to say that criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot, and apparently they're also not very bright. So, according to this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, look, this would not have saved the episode for me, but I think if they had just, if the call hadn't been explicitly for clothing, if it had just been, we need stuff.
Yeah.
I would be a little bit more okay with this because they'd be like, hey, like, we don't know like what people are gonna put in there. But the fact that they would invest in this, I don't know, it's crazy. All right. Bobby goes to the Daily Planet to ask for help, and Lois has the idea to run an article.
All right.
The drivers see it and remember that they dropped off their haul in Levy City. Back at the planet, Clark finally arrives, has an idea to check with the drivers, and heads back down to the relief center. It turns out Mrs. Craig at the relief center had tracked that batch of donations to Levy City. Lois and Jimmy relate all of this to Bobby and Great Gramps, and they agree that Bobby can tag along. So we're now at our act break here, and we have our all of our main players now are bound for Levy City here. I will say there was a moment that I did like when Lois and Clark are making their plans, and Clark's like, "Why don't you go home and get ready, and I'll head down to the relief center." And then he calls, and she's like, "How'd you get down there so fast?" He goes, "I got there the fastest way I know how." So classic George Reeves Clark, not technically lying, right? He did. It's true.
Not technically lying. That's true.
And we also get set up here for the climax of the episode when we're back at the great grandfather's house, because before Bobby goes, he blows the dog whistle to call in the dog to take care of Great Gramps. So now we know. And of course, we have to have an explanation for all the kids watching about a dog whistle and how humans can't hear it and all of that.
Right.
But important setup for later. I don't know. What else? You got anything about this?
But Superman hears it, so yeah, no, we can just keep going. There's not a lot that I have to say in addition to what you said to it, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Neither do I. At the relief center at this point, the second act of this episode, it's just like a parade of people coming through this relief center and all getting the same information. So here we go. At the relief center in Levy City, actor Mortimer Vanderlip explains his costuming needs for an upcoming performance to Mr. McCoy behind the desk and leaves with the coat. Back in Metropolis, Clark learns from Henderson that the two drivers are jailbirds. Back in Levy City, Lois, Jimmy, and Bobby find out about Vanderlip and the location of the theater. As they're leaving, they run into the drivers, and despite Lois's suspicions about these drivers, agrees for the three of them to get in the car with these guys. And of course, the drivers stop along the way and lock up the trio in a smokehouse. Well, I've had plenty of complaints about the Noel Neill version of Lois Lane, and it's like, count another one here. I mean, it's insane to me. I realize she doesn't have the information that Clark does at this point.
Sure.
But these guys are shady enough,
Yeah, you would have to think, I mean, maybe not. I know times have changed, but I would have thought that it was a pretty long-held belief that you shouldn't get in the car with strangers, when you're a kid or maybe even as an adult. And the whole thing of just like, oh yeah, let's just get in and go and end up at the smokehouse together. So I don't have a lot to say about it. I wish I had more to say.
Yeah,
to be honest.
and because the Home Alone guys, they try to put on this nice front that, they're just trying to help and they'll give a ride. But again, anyone can see through it. And I get, as you say this about the stranger danger of it all, it's one of those things. It's like, I guess it's quote unquote okay in this instance because the kids watching this see what goes wrong when you get in the, because part of me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, if you were really so worried about the kids, like no one can throw a punch in the show. Like we're so worried about the kids. Like, don't show them this.
Don't show them getting into cars with people that they shouldn't be getting into cars with.
But I guess because we I guess the message then is conveyed when they get locked up, but they could have been at the bottom of a ditch. Like they're lucky they only got locked up. Clark arrives at the relief center where Mr. McCoy reveals they are fleeing because the dam is about to break. Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in Whippany or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. If you have children and are looking for a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. Single Bound is a new podcast hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe to Single Bound on Spotify and YouTube. Now, this then leads to the action of the episode
Yes.
where
Yes.
Superman stops the dam.
Right.
What was your reaction to this?
Well, maybe I'm just, again, I think I dozed off a little bit in this one and I was trying to remember. So just before we get to the dam, did we have any indication that something had happened to make this water stir up so much that it was about to break, or did it just all of a sudden out of nowhere there was a dam? Because that's kind of what I remember, and and the dam doesn't really look like a dam. It just looks like a couple of doors with water behind somebody's swimming pool, and and I have more to say about it. But I'm just curious, did you hear anything that led you to believe like there was something that happened that made this disaster come about?
No, I mean, I'm assuming it was just storms. And but I really don't know. Yeah, if they were explicit about it, I missed it or I'm forgetting. But
Okay.
I don't believe there was much in the way of explanation. And I agree with you. You know, as when we get to the save, they do look like big doors, and then Superman props these girders up against the doors. However, I mean, maybe my expectations were just so low given how this episode was going, but the fact
Yeah.
that they actually attempted him stopping the dam, I was like, all right, you know,
Yeah.
like I have plenty of complaints and I share them all the time, but it's almost never on the prop special effect action side of things. Like usually I'm
Hmm.
just kind of like, hey, like I appreciate what they were able to do. They did their best, and the fact that they even did anything here, I was impressed by, as flimsy as
Yeah.
it looked. But I was like, all right, cool. Like thanks for doing something.
Yeah, it almost felt to me like this was supposed to be a part of a different episode though, because the it seemed like the dam just came out of nowhere. Like we've got these people, they're in the, they're being taken to the smokehouse. They make a joke about the smokehouse, which I kind of chuckled at a little bit. Like they came out here to smoke. It's like, no, to smoke meat. And then all of a sudden there's this dam that's about to break. And it just seemed like, was there some other episode originally that they were going to do maybe? And because it didn't look like the weather was stormy. It didn't look like no earthquakes, nothing, that would make you think that would happen. So it was not so much that I'm like against the scene happening. It was just kind of put in there so quickly, and I didn't understand where it came from. So I wonder if they didn't have a different episode in mind that that was going to go with, and they just thought, well, we need an action scene here, so we're gonna put this in.
It's a good question. I mean, because well, refresh my memory. Is there any danger at the smokehouse?
Not that I recall. I mean, they're trapped in a smokehouse. I don't think there's any chance of them getting smoked like a side of beef, but
Yeah,
I don't recall much danger other than just being locked inside.
because like you could see a scenario where they have only X number of minutes left of air or something like that, and Superman going to save the dam first might jeopardize him getting to them in time, something
Yeah,
like that. But
yeah,
that really wasn't the I think it was just they needed something else to happen in this one, or they wanted
yeah.
the set piece, so to speak, of him stopping the dam. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It does feel like it kind of comes out of nowhere.
It was like Cobra Commander's weather machine made the dam start
I mean,
start
I
boiling
guess
up.
maybe we have
Mhm.
to go back and re-listen to that PSA at the beginning of the episode about the flood victims, because like if flooding is a problem, like I don't know, maybe there's a larger picture here, you
Oh yeah,
know.
that's right, because that's what precipitated the whole thing. That's right. So there was that. I completely forgot.
So I think
I
there's
guess
a larger issue. So
yeah.
we'll go with
So
that.
something's happening with that dam, and people need clothes because of they're wet, I
Yes,
guess.
yes. Back in the smokehouse, Bobby blows his dog whistle for some reason, and Superman hears it and rescues them. What like? What like? Because I mean, I know he talks about it. Is it just he's just that? I don't know, that resigned, and it's just, oh, I'm just gonna blow my dog whistle, even though because
Mhm.
there's no intent of calling Superman. I mean, he catches a lucky break that Superman
Mhm.
is able to hear that, but it doesn't seem like that was his intention. He was just blowing it
Yeah,
just to do it.
for the fun of it. And and it's right there where I believe Superman breaks through the wall.
And we
to
do
come
get
in.
the kind of the only bright
The,
spot for me in this episode is that
right.
line from Jimmy. Do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, because what did he say? Superman, you could have come through the door. And Superman said, "Well, I could have, Jimmy, but this seemed a bit more spectacular, or something close to that."
That was because I mean,
So,
my goodness, how
yeah,
many episodes do we have him smashing through a wall? Like,
yeah,
I think George liked that. I think the show like that was something that they were able to do
yeah,
right from a
for sure.
production standpoint. It's like okay,
Yeah,
like we can have him smash a wall, and they did it all the time, and that was a great moment of Jimmy calling him out.
yeah,
I guess and that's fine. This too would not have changed the episode all that much, but that earlier scene before the act break when they're leaving the house for Levy City and they're talking about the dog whistle, I think if there had been a line from Jimmy or Lois saying like something to the effect of like, "Gee, I wonder if Superman could hear that dog whistle," just kind of planting that seed,
hmm
and then maybe
yeah,
consciously or even just in the back of his head, maybe that's why Bobby's like, "Oh well, if I blow this, maybe Superman could come."
yeah.
You know.
I wonder if this is just kind of an out there thought, but uh, back in that time, as I understand it, it seems like they were just like a production factory. You just make the next episode, next episode, next episode, next episode, and it wasn't a matter of we're going to really think through these stories. It was like we got to get out 3 episodes today and go through. That's the only thing I can figure in th scenes like this because. And back then, it's not like people were recording the show and they're going to go back and watch it again a number of times. They probably couldn't have even dreamed of what streaming was back then, that somebody would go back and watch these. In the future, it was probably just, bottom line, we've got to get these episodes made. So we're going to put this in. You got to have the wall break. You got to have a quick action scene. Somebody's got to get captured. And I feel like they've kind of hit those notes in the episode, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of heart to it other than that, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And in fairness to them, the fact, like we've been talking about, the fact that the kids of this era like ate this up. So
Yeah.
maybe this was all it needed to be. And no, like we always say, it's like no, these episodes weren't meant to be dissected the way we do here. So
hmm
I always try to keep that in mind. Still doesn't make
Yeah.
me enjoy episodes like this more, but yes, we do note that. Superman arrives at the theater. One of the guys, frustrated at the turn of events, punches out the other one, then faints. So once
Yeah.
again, we can't have Superman do any punching here, but we do get a twist on the typical color era resolution where you get Superman bonking their heads together. We don't have that
Yeah.
here.
No.
So I like that one turns on the other and then faints.
Yeah. And that was I was like, what? He knocked him out and then he just falls to the ground. And the one of them said, you and your big mouth, he says to him and just yeah, but Superman didn't have a chance to stop the bad guys because the bad guys stopped each other.
Yeah. So, all right, that was a little different. Vanderlip takes Superman's word that he'll return the coat in time for the performance and hands it over to Superman. Back at Bobby's, it turns out the $10,000 is actually in Confederate bills. What are we thinking here about Great Gramps?
Um, I guess he's just really nostalgic for the things he had in his youth, like many of us are for the toys we had as children. The Confederate money was for him, what he believed had a nostalgic value, or else he really was very ill-informed about Confederate money, at that point, which I kind of remember when I was a kid seeing an episode of Little House on the Prairie when I was watching it, and the Ingalls thought they were rich because they found this box of Confederate money, and it would make sense for them because they were not that far removed from the Civil War and all that would have been. But great grandpa, I feel like he should know better than to think that this was going to really be the source of wealth that he thought it was. So maybe the only thing I can figure is sentimental value.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
guess. And I mean, but just in terms of his, his affiliations, I mean, we don't get him saying, "Oh, the South will rise again" or anything like that. But yeah, this just
Well,
puts a whole other spin on things.
oh, you're right. And I didn't, I mean, other than like the Foghorn Leghorn accent that we got, from different people like him. So yeah, maybe he was a part of the Confederacy. I don't know. maybe we aren't supposed to read too deeply into it, but yeah, I guess we know which side of the war his family was on.
Yeah, I think so. But all is not lost, though, as a banker from Alabama turns up and reveals that the article alerted him to Great Gramps' whereabouts. It turns out his father had placed a few $100s in an account for him years ago, and with interest, it now totals over $5,000, which instills in Great Gramps, at long last, a faith in banks. Because if there was any thread running through this episode, it's that he doesn't trust banks. That's why the money was in the coat all this time, right? He wants his money when he wants it.
Right.
But it turns out that few $100s with interest ended up saving the kid's college fund or whatever he wanted the money for.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like we were supposed to, is the theme of the episode to trust banks?
Honestly, I think that is.
Yeah.
I feel like the show was making a point about banks.
Well, and forgive me for not knowing the exact time period, and I keep making references to other shows and movies, but I remember in It's a Wonderful Life, and people were, rushing the building and loan to get their money out because everything crashed at that time. Maybe there was a real superstition about using banks. And, Superman had been used for propaganda for the government before at times. Maybe this was sort of an effort to, make sure to use those banks, kids, and put your money in.
Maybe this is the color era equivalent of Stamp Day for Superman. There we
Maybe.
go. Then, yeah,
Yeah.
they don't beat you over the head with it. But I think when you take a step back, this is all about, trust in banks. Superman gives credit to Bobby and flies off to return the coat to the actor. And he has this remark about, don't wait up for me. I might stay and catch the show. And that's our little button here. I don't know. Anything else you want to say before we give our rating here?
No, I just remember thinking Vanderlip was a really interesting name for a character. I was thinking that maybe I was thinking there were probably people like Vanderbilts and different ones at that time. So Vanderlip was an interesting name for an actor, but no, nothing too much I need to say beyond what we've already said, I think, about the show. So don't wait up for me.
Yeah.
Um,
We were talking about this off mic. I didn't know if I was going to say it during the show, but it's right there in the title. So I was curious about the meaning of a Prince Albert coat. And I searched it, and I will say to the audience, like, don't search it because I presumably it had a different meaning at the time of this episode. But when you
mhm.
search for it now, all of the results, at least on the first page of results, all refer to the Prince Albert coat as a genital piercing. So I had to clear my search history, and I left it at that. But for anyone who can speak more specifically to what this would have referred to, especially at this point in time, please feel free to reach out.
Well, you know what? Now this is just a very quick search, and I was careful in how I searched it, but I brought it up on my phone, and there is something online about Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria, was known for wearing smoking jackets. And so I'm guessing that it probably was some kind of a smoking jacket from the era, which just like they used to have a smokehouse to smoke cigarettes, according to the one bad guy, and was corrected. Apparently, in order to smoke cigarettes or cigars, you had to have the proper jacket. So that would be my guess. I'm gonna give the hopefully generous take on that, and not the one you have to clear your web browser search
Yeah, yeah,
after.
yeah. I
So.
certainly don't think that's what this show is referring to. That'd be a very different episode.
The
All
Adventures
right.
of Superman took a turn here. Yeah.
Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 5, Great Caesar's Ghosts, Rick, how many are we giving this one?
I think I'm just going to give it one. It was not my favorite episode for sure. One, because it did have Superman in it, and I like Superman.
I very recently gave my first and what I expected to be my only 0 of the series
Mm.
for Close Shave, and I'm really debating throwing out another 0, but I don't know, maybe the stopping of the dam, as flimsy as it was, at least it was something. And those couple of lines, I got here the fastest way I know how, and golly, Superman, you could have come in through the door. I did find those amusing. So 0.5,
Yeah.
0.5 for me. All right, Rick, you're going to be back here next week for The Stolen Elephant.
Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. And I encourage everyone to check out your podcast, Truth, Justice, and the Way. The link will be in the show notes. I know you shared information about it with us the last time you were here, and I hope everyone has checked it out. And if they haven't, that they will. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for mentioning it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, audience. Make sure you come back next time. Until then, as always, only Superman can do super things. This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. Another way to support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, is by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your podcast platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Flat Squirrel Podcasts is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today. Another exciting episode is a Flat Squirrel production. Key art by Greg Schiegel and theme music by Dan Pritchard.